everybody. Thank you so much for joining me here today at Re-Ritten Vintage Homestead. This is week 2 of the Every Bit Counts Challenge. Week 1 was so fun. It was hard, but it was exciting seeing my pantry start to grow and grow and my freezer. And so that's what's so exciting about this challenge. It doesn't matter how little or how big. You just try to preserve something every day in the month of October. So I went out in my garden last night and tried to see what I would have to work with. I still don't have a whole lot of tomatoes. They're just starting to blush. But I did have a lot of green tomatoes, a few red tomatoes, some collard greens, some mint, some cucumbers, and the ever-abundant zucchini. So that's what I'm going to be working with this week. I hope you guys will stay tuned. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work on these collard greens. I want to show you guys again how I cut these. I just fold them in half and then go right down the stem here or the spine. And then I roll them up. And then just cut them into slices. So I don't have a whole lot, but I think I have enough to do a serving or two, and I'm not going to let these go to waste. Whenever you're freezing green vegetables, green leafy vegetables, you have to blanch them, which is a good idea. It kills any bacteria, any insects you may have missed when you washed it extra good. And so I'm going to blanch these. As soon as the water starts boiling, we're going to let it boil for 3 minutes. Then I'll put it in some cold water and we'll lay them out on paper towels to dry and bag them up, and in the freezer they go. Hi everybody, today is day 2 of week 2 of the Every Bit Counts Challenge. Today I'm going to start tackling the zucchini. So I've showed you before how I peel, seed, and cut my zucchini. So I've cut these into little cubes to resemble apples, because today we're going to make apple pie filling out of zucchini. So the first thing we're going to do in a heavy pot is we're going to add 2 cups of apple juice. You can also use apple cider vinegar if you like that. 3 cups of sugar. That's the neat thing about zucchini, is whatever you put it with, it'll take on that flavor. We're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves. And then we're going to add 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And then we're going to throw in 2 cinnamon sticks. And I'm just going to stir that up until the sugar starts to dissolve. So we're only letting this simmer. We're not trying to get it to boil. We just want it to simmer until the sugar dissolves. And it looks like we're about at that point now. So I'm going to add my zucchini. And I did 3 large zucchini. So I came up with about 6 cups. I've added my zucchini, and I'm going to let it simmer in the pot for about 10 minutes, long enough to soak up all of this delicious sauce that we made. And then we're going to start putting it in our hot jars. I've already washed those, and I'm sterilizing them over here. We'll put the lids on, the bands on, and we'll get to boiling. I've got my jars all sterilized. They're nice and hot. And I'm going to pour my zucchini and the liquid in my jars. And I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch headspace. Now, if you would go to an Amish store and buy apple pie filling, it would come in these large quart jars. I think I may have went a little over there. There we go. So now that I have those filled up, I'm going to do what I always do. I'm going to take my rubber spatula and go all around the outside to get all the air bubbles out so that we have a nice vacuum seal. After that, I'm going to take a paper towel or a linen dishcloth and I'm going to wipe around the outside here to make sure that there's nothing stuck to the lip of this jar that's going to keep it from sealing. I've got my lids and my rims sterilizing, and I think they're ready. So I'm just going to put those on finger tight. I'm not using this to get this to seal necessarily. I'm using this to keep this from falling off. So it doesn't have to be really tight, just finger tight. Then I'm going to put these in a hot water bath for 15 minutes at a rolling boil. My mock apple pie filling out of zucchini has been boiling for 15 minutes. And I just turned the stove down and I'm going to let them sit for 5 minutes in the canner and then I'll pull them out. I also forgot to tell you guys, since this is a low acid food, you need to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to each jar. And I'll include that in the written recipe. Hi friends, today is day 3 of week 2. It's August 10th. And I need something simple today because I'm really busy. So today I'm going to start on what I'm going to work on for tomorrow. And I think I'll do something easy with the rest of my zucchini. I'm going to make some chocolate freezer muffins. And I'll take you along to do that. But let me show you what I'm going to work on for tomorrow. So I cut my big zucchini up into little pieces here and put them in my crock pot. And I'm going to add some apple juice, just regular apple juice. Now you know that the zucchini is going to take on the flavor of the apple juice. So I just poured in enough to, almost cover the top, but not quite. I'm going to cook these on low for as long as it takes until they get mushy. And then we'll proceed with the recipe. Hi everybody, it's day 4, August 11th of the Every Bit Counts Challenge. And I started yesterday. I showed you that I had cut up my zucchini and I put it in my crock pot and I added apple juice, just enough to, cover it almost to the top, but not completely. So I cooked that on low and it took exactly 8 hours to get what I wanted. So let me show you that. Here we go. So what I have here now is the consistency of mashed potatoes, and it still has some apple juice. So I'm going to drain the juice off of it, and I'm going to mix it up like mashed potatoes, and then we'll come back. So now that I mix the zucchini up, what I have is, guess what I'm making? Applesauce. But not with any apples, as Pee Wee Herman would say. So I still have a little bit of fluid in here, and I'm going to add some spices, and then I'm going to cook it down until it's the consistency of applesauce. So what I'm going to add is 1 tablespoon of honey, and I'm using honey that is local to where I live, because not only will this be nutritious because of the zucchini, it's going to be good for my sinuses because I'm using local honey. After that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. Seems like everything takes lemon juice, and I'm not going to can this. I'm going to freeze it so that I can use it in quite a few recipes. And then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And 1/8 of a teaspoon of nutmeg. Now I've got this on simmer. It's in between medium and it's in between low. And I'm going to let it simmer and get some of those juices to evaporate. And then I'm going to have some wonderful zucchini sauce that tastes just like applesauce. Let's see here. Now this took 2 large zucchini. So if you end up, you don't go out to the garden for a day or two and you find them under the leaves and you're like, oh man, what am I going to do with these big zucchini? Don't forget you can make mock applesauce. You can make mock apple pie filling. There's a lot you can do with it. So I want you guys to see what it looks like after the spices have been added. Doesn't that look great? It looks like cinnamon applesauce. And I'm just going to let it continue to cook so that the fluids cook out of it, and then we'll take a look at it. So I let the applesauce, zucchini sauce, cook. It only took like 5 minutes to get the liquid out of it and the consistency of applesauce. But like any other cook, I tasted it as I went along, and I decided it was a little too weak. So I added another 1/8 of a teaspoon of the nutmeg and another teaspoon of cinnamon and another tablespoon of the honey. And then Pickles, come here, Pickles, so they can see you. I have a taste tester here today. Pickles And I tasted it again, and we decided it had a little bit of a bite to it because of the lemon juice, so we added a tablespoon of sugar. And now we love it. So I will make sure that those are the directions that you get, but it's like any other recipe. You're like, this is a little too bland. This is a little too spicy, a little too hot, a little too mild. So you add things to it. But I want to show you guys how it looks. And the whole house smells like apple butter. There we go. See, it looks just like apple butter actually, but it's got the consistency of applesauce. And it's still pretty hot, but let's give it a go. Hardly any liquid left in it. There's a lot of recipes you can use this for. I saw a cake, I saw a crumble, and I saw a cobbler, and some cookies. So all you have to do is Google those recipes, and you can use this zucchini apple butter or applesauce for those recipes. Tastes just like cinnamon applesauce that you buy at the store. So you can freeze this. Do not try to can it. It's low acidity, so you can't water bath can it, but you can freeze it, put it in your fridge, and eat it. Send it in the kids' school lunches. It'll be fine. Just don't try to can it. So for tomorrow, we're going to be working with green tomatoes. Have a great night. And I have ended up with a ton of green tomatoes that I need to do something with. So this is a great time to do it. And this is a really easy recipe, and it doesn't take you long at all. It won't take you all afternoon. But the reason I like it is we're looking forward to Thanksgiving and Christmas and gift giving. So we're going to take a green tomato and we're going to turn it into raspberry jam. I sorted through my bucket of tomatoes, and the ones that are starting to ripen, those are going to go out on the picnic table to finish the process. The ones that are nice and big, I'm saving those, and I'm going to can those so that I can have some fried green tomatoes this winter. So I'm using the smaller ones that are still all green, and I'm just taking a box grater. Now I washed these really good. Got all the dirt off of them. I'm using this side of the grater. It's not the fine side. I'm not going to drain the juice. We need the juice. And so here I have 4 cups of grated green tomato. So to my 4 cups of shredded green tomato, I'm going to add 4 cups of white sugar. I'm going to put this on the stove and I'm going to bring it to a boil. And then we'll take a look at it after it gets to boiling. I know you're wondering, when do the raspberries come in? This is kind of a nice boil. I've just been letting it simmer. And now that it's at a boil, I'm going to let it boil and thicken up for about 15 minutes. And I've got my jars over here. They've been washed, and now I'm sterilizing them. And it won't take long now. So my green tomatoes and my sugar have cooked down quite a bit. I let those boil for 15 minutes, and while those were boiling, I cut 2 quarts of green tomatoes for tomorrow's preservation day. Now that I have this ready, I'm going to add 2 packages of raspberry jello. These are the 3-ounce packages, and that's where our raspberry flavor comes in. And you don't have to use raspberry. You can use cherry. You can use strawberry. You can use any flavor that you like. And it's just like zucchini. It's going to take on that flavor. Oh, look how pretty. Won't that be a pretty Christmas gift? Now this will thicken up as it cooks in the canner. Just like your Jell-O does when it sets in the refrigerator, it'll do the same thing. Oh, it's so pretty. And you can decorate your jars really pretty. So there you go. So now I'm going to put those in my hot steaming jars and we'll check on them in a bit. So the mock raspberry jam got me 6 pints. And I've got to bring my water back up to a boil, and then I'm going to let them process in the water bath canner for 10 minutes. I will then turn off the heat, let them sit for 5 minutes, and let the popping commence. While I've been waiting on my jam in the water bath canner, I've been working on my project for tomorrow. So I went ahead and I diced up 2 quarts of the green tomatoes and 3 medium Vidalia onions, sweet onions, and an assortment, I would say 3 medium sweet onions, sweet peppers, so I have about 3 medium sweet peppers of all different colors, green, yellow, orange, red, some Vidalia onion, and 2 quarts of the green tomatoes. And to that, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of salt, and just sprinkle that well. Mix that up. And I'm going to let this set in the refrigerator for about 6 hours. And what we're going to make tomorrow out of this is an Amish recipe that was in my cookbook that I showed you not too long ago. And it's called Amish Sweet Relish. And it will be delicious. It'll taste like summer on hot dogs or bratwurst or with your barbecue, just with anything. So I'm just going to let that sit in the refrigerator overnight and put that together tomorrow. Welcome to day 6. It's August the 13th. Yesterday I got ready everything I needed for my Amish sweet relish, tomato relish that I'm making out of my green tomatoes. I chopped up my green tomatoes, my onions, my peppers, and I sprinkled them with 3 tablespoons of salt. I let them sit actually overnight, but the recipe says 6 to 8 hours. I drained them. Now I'm getting ready to make the brine for them. But I wanted to show you guys, here is the green tomato raspberry jam that we made. And you can see it's not runny. It thickens up. See, it's not moving. It thickens up as it cooks and as it cools. Tastes just like raspberry jam. So I hope you guys will give it a go. Now let's make our brine. I'll bring you down here. So I'm going to take 3 cups of sugar. And to that, I am going to add 1 tablespoon of celery seed. Got to be careful because I get the shakes, you know. Then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of allspice. Two tablespoons 2 teaspoons of dry mustard, 1 teaspoon turmeric, and 1 teaspoon ground ginger. To all of my dry ingredients, I'm going to add 2½ cups of apple cider vinegar. I love the smell of apple cider vinegar. And I'm going to put this on the stove to simmer 10 to 15 minutes. And then we'll add our vegetables. This tastes fabulous. I know I'm always saying that, you guys, but believe me, if it tasted awful, I wouldn't film it. It is delicious, and this is going to go over our Amish sweet green tomato relish. So I'm letting it simmer for 15 minutes to get all those flavors mixed together. And I've also got more diced tomatoes over here that I'm canning. So it's a busy day on the homestead, day 6. And as soon as this is done simmering, we're going to add the vegetables. After my brine simmered for 15 minutes, I added my vegetables. I've let them simmer for 15 minutes. And now I'm going to bring everything to a boil. Once it goes to a boil, I'm going to put everything in my hot jars over here and start processing in my water bath canner for 10 minutes. After working 8 hours today full time and staying up last night canning, I made meatloaf for dinner, and then I went out and I picked I'm not done, of these green beans. These have been washed, they're ready to be snapped, but these haven't. And they're not going to tonight because it's 9 o'clock at night and I'm exhausted. But I'm not going to count today as a failure because I did bring all of these in and I'm going to work on them tomorrow. And rather than making one thing last night for preservation day, I made 3. I made diced tomatoes, and I made the Amish sweet green relish. And about 11 o'clock at night last night, I thought I'm going to use up the rest of those green tomatoes and I'm going to make some cherry jam. And it is really, really good too. I do prefer the raspberry the best as far as flavor, but this is really good too if you like cherry. So I overdid it yesterday, so I'm going to take it a little easier today. I hope Jess at 3 Rivers Homestead will forgive me, but I think she will. And I hope you guys enjoyed the things I did so far this week, and you have a great week too.